Let's be honest. Let's have an honest conversation. Let's have an honest conversation about this final. Let's have an honest conversation about some of these players. Let's have an honest conversation about Mikel Arteta. Let us have an honest conversation about the season, and let us have an honest conversation about this project as a whole. I'm going to be regarding the final itself. Obviously, we lost to PSG, 4-3 on penalties. Terrible way to lose a final, but we lost nonetheless. Regarding the starting lineup itself, not upset at it, not mad at it. I trusted Mikel to go with whatever team he chose. And I think the starting lineup kind of tells you exactly what the game plan was going to be. Went with a back four that was going to be focusing on neutralizing the attacking threat from PSG. He went with the most balanced and technical midfield that he can go with. And he went with the front three that has the best technical ability and has the best attributes for ball retention, recycling, possession. I think it's obvious that he didn't go with a very defensive setup or trying to run in behind. I know we played very defensively, but I think a very defensive setup would have been a double pivot of Rice, Zubimendi, Martinelli on the left who can put in a shift, who can run in behind, but that's not what he did. He went with the most technical players, and that tells me he wanted to try to have periods of the game of controlled possession and try to counterbalance PSG's overloads in the middle of the park. Well, we scored the early goal, and I think that early goal kind of shifted the game plan and kind of said, okay, we got the early goal, let's defend and let's get stuck in and let's do what we do best. And I'm not upset at that. So the game goes on. We go into halftime. We're 1-0 up, and we're in a very good position. Now, what's the situation here? I said in my preview that we cannot defend PSG for 90 minutes. We just can't. They're too good. They have too much attacking quality. They have too many good players, too many overloads. Even if we are perfect defensively, they're going to find a moment of magic. But not only that, it is so difficult to ask a defense to be perfect for 90 minutes because not only is it a physical degradation, but it is mentally exhausting to stay so switched on and so concentrated, especially with the PSG side that is constantly rotating, constantly flowing, creating overloads in multiple areas of the pitch. You have to know when to follow a guy, when to drop off, when to pick him up. It's a lot. And we didn't really give ourselves even a 5 to 10 minute period in this game of just controlled possession to kind of give the defense a break and let us be the ones who were on the ball and took a little bit of control. We didn't give that to ourselves, not once. We didn't seek it once. And we needed to seek it with that starting 11 because that was the most technical 11 that we could have had. Any other change that you make, especially to the front three, you're giving yourself runners in behind who give you counter-attacking threats, but don't really give you the ability to maintain possession and sustain it. PSG comes on in the second half, wave after wave after wave after wave. Mosquera gets caught flat-footed. PSG creates it over on the left-hand side. Little 1-2, they're in, foul, penalty, it's 1-1. And even then, we're still in a good position. Because as the game goes on, PSG can only get weaker. Every single substitution that PSG makes them weaker. Whereas we have guys on the bench that can actually give us something either in attack or defensively. We can get stronger or at least maintain our level of quality. PSG can only get worse. It's a game of attrition for us. And so at 1-1, it's still our narrative. We are still in control. But Arteta makes a substitution that I don't understand. He puts on Gyökeres for Odegaard, and he leaves us with 2 men in the midfield and plays with 2 men up top. And I get it. He wanted to play the long ball and knock the ball down. I understand that, especially with Havertz struggling. But you don't take Martin Odegaard off for a multitude of reasons. One, he's a midfielder, and we need to have a period of control. We can't continue to hold on, especially not another 30 minutes of this relentless attack. And now you are giving them an extra midfielder in the park when they already outnumber us with Dembele dropping into the space, and they are already better from a technical perspective. So why are you taking off a midfielder? Why are you also taking one of the few players that actually has an engine to last 120 minutes and also one of the better penalty takers? Doesn't make any sense. Stupid from a tactical perspective. But we hold on, the game goes on, and then 20 minutes later, he puts on Noni Madueke for Bukayo Saka, and he puts on Martinelli for Trossard. So now, not only do we no longer have, a ball-controlling midfielder, we're playing with 2 midfielders, but we're playing with 3 runners. We're playing with 2 strikers, Gyökeres who runs in behind, Martinelli who runs in behind, Madueke runs in behind. Once again, nobody that can actually help us in the middle of the park. And we've seen that front three does not work. We know that. So why are we playing that in a Champions League final? What has Madueke done to even justify coming on for Bukayo Saka, who was very poor, especially in attack? But what has he done to justify coming on a Champions League final at all? So we give ourselves 30 minutes that we basically wasted, and we've taken off two of our best penalty takers, and also two of the players that have the most amount of physical fitness in them. Bukayo Saka plays nearly every single game for Arsenal. He's probably one of the few players that I trust to last 120 minutes. The same goes for Odegaard. So why are we taking them off? It doesn't make sense from a tactical perspective. And it doesn't even make sense for the long-term strategy of what the game requires. At this point, Kvaratskhelia came off. And then at 90 minutes, Dembele comes off. Two of the best attackers, if not the two best attackers in world football outside Lamine Yamal, just came off in the Champions League final. 90 minutes have been played. We have another half hour. Now is our time to get at them. And he goes in with Eberechi Eze for Havertz and Zubimendi. And now we're playing a double pivot with Martinelli, Gyökeres, and Madueke. We had a more defensive structure and a more defensive side going into extra time against a weakened PSG than we did at the start of the game. Make that make sense. If you're going to go with a very technical side from the very beginning, that's fine. But you need to give yourself that 10, 15, 20-minute spell where you actually had some control of the game. And if you recognize and you understand that every single substitution that you are making is basically taking away technical quality from the side, you need to at least keep on the pitch your more technical players. But you took off Odegaard and Saka, who are arguably, obviously Trossard is one of them, but are arguably the only two players that have the engine to last 120 minutes that also have technical ability. What are you doing? Not to mention, they're fantastic penalty takers. Makes no sense. At that point, it's obvious that Mikel is playing for penalties, which I don't understand. Because if you're going to play for penalties, again, leave your best penalty takers. But this is a severely weakened PSG side. At halftime and extra time, Vitinha and Marquinhos comes off. We're now playing a PSG side, 20 minutes to go, okay, with no Marquinhos, no Vitinha, no Dembele, no Kvaratskhelia, and no Fabian Ruiz. And we're defending still. Makes no sense to me. So literally, from when that goal went in the 63rd minute, I think Mikel's substitutions stifled whatever chance we actually had to win it. He was playing for pens. And listen, pens can be more or less a 50-50, maybe a 55-45, depending on your takers or the quality of the goalkeeper. And maybe in terms of the odds, that's probably the best chance that we had to win the game. But brother, when two out of your three best penalty takers, Gyökeres, Saka, and Odegaard, right? When 2 out of 3 of them are on the bench, and those two players are more than capable of lasting 120 minutes. Unacceptable. It's also unacceptable that Eberechi Eze does that silly run-up, because I've seen him miss a penalty like that before. I think he missed one in the Community Shield at the beginning of this season, if I'm not mistaken, against Liverpool. But what really upsets me is that I've seen this guy score a volley against Leverkusen from like 35 yards out. I've seen him score a screamer against Newcastle from outside of the box. So clearly he backs himself to take the shots from outside of the box because he has the accuracy and the power and the technical ability to bury it top bins from 30 yards, but you want to do a little stuttering run-up from 18 yards? From the penalty spot, you want to do a little stuttering run-up in a Champions League final? And then £55 million signing Madueke, who's supposed to revolutionize this attack. Why are you letting Gabriel take the fifth penalty, brother? I saw you fighting with Cole Palmer back in your Chelsea days, and you're letting Gabriel step up and take the penalty, who's probably, arguably, the least technical player of the 11 that were on that pitch, because Saliba's a better ball playing center back, as is Nkapie, as is Timber, as is Rice, as is Zubi. They're all more technically, better than him on the ball. Why is he taking the fifth penalty? I don't even blame him. I blame the other guys who let him take it. And we lose a final on penalties. Now, the team, defensively, a unit. Incredible defensive, incredible work rate, incredible discipline. And Mikel is an elite level manager at being able to set a team up defensively. His practicality is immense. And he is, I've seen him play attacking football. I've seen him play defensive football. It is obvious that he's very apt at both and that he's very, very capable of playing two very different styles of football at the highest level. I commend him and the guys for that. And that was probably the best chance that we would have had to beat PSG. So all the praise and all the credit for the approach and the way that we played. I don't blame it. But what I'm upset about is the fact that when you look at our personnel, that is the style of play that we need to resort to. The fact that that is the best chance that we had to win this game 6 years into this project is inexcusable. 6 years into this project, £1 billion spent, all of those signings are your signings. And the best possible chances that you have to win this game is to have one shot on target and 25% possession across 120 minutes. What does that say about your squad building? What does that say about the quality of players that you have recruited, that you have either failed with your talent ID or you have failed to improve? Either or, inexcusable. This Champions League final, look at who started for us. And I'm not even like mad about who started because they were arguably the better players in form and everything. They're the better players. But the fact that who we have starting for us in the Champions League final is Leandro Trossard, a winger that we signed in the January transfer window of the 23 season because he had a falling out with the Brighton manager at the time. He was a stopgap signing for us. He was meant to be a backup to Martinelli. Kai Havertz up top, even though he was signed as a number 8. And Miles Lewis-Skelly, who came from the academy. Meanwhile, we have our £60 million signing on the bench in Zubimendi, who was supposed to be our midfield 6. We have our £60 million marquee striker signing on the bench. How are these the guys that are starting for us? And then our £55 million attacker, doesn't even take the penalty, gives it to our least technical center back. That's what? 200 million? 200 something million worth of talent on the bench in a Champions League final? Make that make sense. 6 years into this project, and statistically speaking, the best chance that we had to win this game was to defend for 120 minutes with 25% possession. That's the best chance that we had 6 years into this project? Seriously? Again, we were fantastic. I agree with the approach. I agree with the setup. I thought it was elite level defending. But I can't get behind the squad recruitment, the way you have built this squad. I can't get behind your lack of talent ID when it comes to making attacking midfield and forward signings. It's abysmal. It is abysmal. And when you look at this season, I've asked this question before and I will ask it again. How many Champions League run-ins have you seen? How many teams have gotten a route that consisted of Leverkusen, Sporting Lisbon, and Atletico Madrid? How many times have you seen that in Champions League history? How many routes to an FA Cup semifinal have you seen consisted of Portsmouth, Mansfield, Wigan Athletic, Southampton, teams of that caliber? How many Premier League seasons have you seen a Chelsea that finished mid-table, a Tottenham that was getting relegated, a Man United team that didn't start winning until January, a City that didn't start winning games consistently until February, and a Liverpool that had so much drama going on behind the scenes that it was like a soap opera? How many Premier League seasons have you seen where all our rivals were that poor? Each one of these competitions were so favored. They were so heavily favored towards us. And the fact that all three of these things occurred within the same season is unheard of. It's unimaginable. You couldn't even script this if you wanted to. I don't think you could even have the imagination. 6 years into this project, we should have dog-walked this Premier League. We should have at least had 30% possession in the Champions League. And we should have, at the very minimum, given ourselves a fighting chance in the semi-final of the FA Cup. But no. We went out with a whimper. We lost the EFL Cup final in terrible fashion. We've been out with a whimper against Southampton. Man City handed over the Premier League title to us because it was in their hands, and had they just won their games, they would have won it easily. We were never going to beat them on goal difference. They handed it over to us. And a Champions League final with 25% possession and one shot on target that we lost on penalties. Like, will we ever get a season with such favorable conditions ever again? Yes, we won the Premier League. Yes, it's a fantastic achievement. Yes, it's been 22 years. Yes, I'm proud of Mikel and the boys. Yes, Mikel Arteta brought us back to the top and has us competing for these trophies. Yes, I understand that we were a banter club for years and that it's almost a privilege, that I should almost be thankful for the fact that we lost a Champions League final, that we're in this position, that the fact that I'm demanding eliteness from this club is such a privileged position considering where we've been for the last 10, 15, 20 years. I get it. That is all true. But it is also true the fact that Arteta's squad building has been terrible, that we should have done more this season, that we should have a much better squad, much better players, that we should be playing better football, that we should have won this league title a long time ago, that this season should have yielded much more titles. Both of those things can be true. All of those things are true. And that is the honest conversation that needs to be had. I've seen Mikel play scintillating, attacking, free-flowing football in that 22-23 season. I saw it again in 23-24, and now have seen elite defensive football. He's shown me that he can do both. But what he has not shown me is his ability to not only build a squad, but to also rotate a squad. And those are two elements that make an elite manager. Right now, he's showing me that he's an elite coach, but he has yet to show me that he's an elite manager. It's only a matter of time before Liverpool and City and Chelsea and Man United go back to their best. It's only a matter of time before Bayern Munich and Real Madrid and Barcelona and some of the Italian clubs bounce back and are at their best. We have a very, very narrow window of opportunity here to actually win the major honors. And there is so much dog shit in this squad, especially in the midfield and the attack, that we need to move on from. And I don't even know if I trust Mikel to bring the right talent. And even then, I don't even know if I trust him to improve them, because almost every single attacking player that he's had under him has gone backwards. Bukayo Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli look nothing like how they used to look 2-3 years ago. That's the honest conversation that we need to have. Yes, Mikel won us a Premier League, but is Mikel going to be the one to establish a dynasty? Is Mikel going to go and grab and get the right players that can actually give us the kind of football that is a bit more balanced, that can defend deep when they need to, but when they say, all right, we want the ball now, can have incredible scintillating attacking play for 15, 20 minutes? He's shown that he can set up a team to do both, but does he have the talent ID to play both when he wants to? When it comes to getting center backs that can play as fullbacks, the guy is elite. But when it comes to getting creative players or attacking players that are electric in front of goal, the guy's track record so far is abysmal. And that is right now what is stopping us from going to that next level. And that's what I'm going to start judging very, very harshly, even more so now after this Champions League final defeat. Let me know what you guys think. Am I being overreactionary? Am I being honest? Is it the truth? I think so. Would love to hear your thoughts, and we'll keep in touch.